Hello YouTube, my name is Lauren Strickland, and today we will be talking about thinking and the mind in the modern day. In the past, we saw a quite bit of philosophers coming about with different ideas. Aristotle, Socrates, in the more Greek sense of the word philosophy. We have people such as René Descartes, who represent the more French form of it. We also have Confucius, who would summarize and would also be put with more Eastern philosophies. But today we're really going to focus on René Descartes. I mentioned him in my last video, and I really like René Descartes' work and what he represents. And one of his main summarizations, and what can really sum him up in one sentence, is what he stated back during the 17th century, and that is, "I think, therefore I am." And I covered this a little bit back in my last video. And what he was stating then was, during that time period, a lot of philosophers were having issues with putting concrete to the form that, is everything around me real? Am I even real? Or is all this just one big dream and non-existent? Well, he simply solved this by saying, "I think, therefore I am," so the thoughts in my head are what define me and are what make me real. And he was a very peculiar man. He was born and raised in France, but he moved to Holland because he thought that the people in the Netherlands wouldn't find a free-thinking man so intruding upon them, because he thought they were very concerned about money and property owning and things of that sort. Well, that wasn't so true. He ended up having to move quite a bit to hide from different spies and sort. But get back to topic, he would be found a lot of the times laying in bed at 11 in the morning, and his friends would come in and say, "Why are you still in the bed?" And he would just simply say, "I'm thinking." And they would probably ask things like, "What are you thinking about?" And to their surprise, they wouldn't be on the materialistic things and urges that we usually think about as humans, such as our bills, or what we're going to buy next, or what we need to save up for, money related things. It wasn't such things related to relationships either. He wasn't focused on what girl am I going to get next, or should I get rid of this girl that I'm with now. He was more or less thinking more complex things, how to better society with his thinking. And this is what made him a very, very great specimen for philosophy and how it has helped humanity. And what I want to cover with this is relating to what he said and to what he lived to our time period. And it is quite surprising now. Well, I say quite surprising. It's quite surprising to me that we live in such a materialistic world that is advancing all the time, but you see little and little and less of these philosophical thinkers and people that are wanting to use these philosophical ideas to help humanity. And really, it's mainly a lot of times all you see in the news is these people caught up on just whims. There's nothing really held in great esteem. They really just are excited all of a sudden about some topic, and they go about and they rave about it in the streets. And this is not This is not good to a society to just be caught on a whim all the time, and then you go and rave about it in the streets, or rave about it on YouTube, or go blast a bunch of tweets, or just annoy everybody on Facebook with what little idea you have. Now, going back to Rene Descartes when he was thinking in his bed, which I often do as well. It is very helpful to sit back and do what he's doing. He was reflecting on himself and on his surroundings and thinking about how he can make the place better. And it quite worries me that we have less than this. People are not as concerned about how their thoughts are inflicting upon them, and they're not as concerned on reflection as I would think people were in the past. I've talked to, elder people from 2 generations ago. Some of them fought in the Vietnam War. Some of them fought in the Korean War. And I asked a lot of them the question, about reflection and thinking. And these people, from very simple walks of life, they didn't, a lot of them didn't go to university. A lot of them didn't have very high levels of education, but reflection and thinking was a big part of what they, did in life. It made a big impact on them, and that's why they were able to have some amount of success in our sense of success, and also a quite bit of success in the mind and in this philosophical thinking and coming up with new ways and ideas to help society and humanity, and to also mainly help themselves in furthering them. And it all goes back to what Rene Descartes was doing. Reflecting on himself. Thinking. Going in deeply into himself and finding ideas that would not normally be put out as much. Today you have so many clashes between the left and the right, Democrat, Republican, that you almost can never see a middle ground ever being brought to a conclusion, which is quite sad, because if the United States was truly bonded together in unity and had some form of this type of unity, I'm not talking about communism, but I am talking about unity, a united body of different free-thinking people who all wanted to see this country do better. If we had that, you would almost certainly see a change in how things are done and on how this country is viewed by the rest of the world. But it all goes back to reflection, thinking, and these philosophical thinkers. I saw in the news the other day, it was right after Trump was inaugurated, there was these big riots, and people started burning things and breaking glasses, and this one person set fire to a limousine, thoughting that he was causing some big outlash against Trump, when in fact the limousine belonged to a Muslim who was just a working guy. So in fact you were actually hurting the people you were trying to protect. When you were out riding, this person was at business trying to do something with their life. And it just really amazes me how we lack in this thinking and in this philosophical idealism that we need to have to become a great country. And I'm not stating that the left is correct or the right is correct. Each one has their own flaws and needs to be fixed and needs to be brought forward. But I am seeing a lot of this happen just because of a lack of thinking. And if we would just go back to what I said, reflect reflection is very key when it comes to bettering yourself and your surroundings. You must, it takes time and effort. And when we live in an age where everything is handed to us pretty much when it comes to information on our phone, on our tablet, iPad, or on a computer. We're always being sent information at all times, to where it almost seems that, coming up with your own ideas seems to be almost impossible. Everything has been done for you. If you have a question, and you don't know the answer to it, you just go to Google or whatever searching site you want to go to, and you look it up and you find the answer for it. And this you couldn't do this back in the past. You had to literally either go to a library or you had to figure out the reason for yourself. And through these actions, you learned, and you learned the principles behind that were behind your question, and you learned why this was this way and why it wasn't. And it actually made you appreciate things a little bit more than it just being given to you. But if we would just have just a small percentage, just a very small percentage of people in the United States that would really try to root themselves in philosophical idealism, in reflection, and in deep thought, this country would do quite amazing. You would see just, I assure you, things would just go out the roof. It'd be quite revolutionary in the most peaceful way, because a person that's reflecting and thinking isn't going to be going out in the streets and rioting. No, they would sit down and come down with a conclusion on paper, or they would, put it in a very reformed way and a very direct way on, in the media or in social media, to where it would actually impact people in a positive way. And people would say, oh, I've been doing it this way. And then you would come along and you would state these very profound things that made a lot of sense. And everybody would be like, oh, why didn't I think of that? That's a good idea. I'm going to do that now from here on out. And only by doing this are we going to be able to get anywhere and to stop this quote-unquote war we have between the left and the right. And it's quite amazing how far the left and the right are far from each other. I mean, you are either way in left field, or you're completely out of the ballpark. From what I've seen, it just amazes me whenever I turn on the news or look on my phone and I see just all these things coming up, or if I just look on Facebook and see what some of my friends from high school are saying. It's just worlds apart from each other, from ever coming to a conclusion. And that is a problem that we are going to have to get over if we're going to move this country forward. And it's all going to have to start with reflection, philosophical idealism, and lots and lots of thinking. Thank you for watching this, viewers. So please subscribe and like. I hope that you like the video. I will be uploading one weekly, and hopefully with a little more financial input into this program, I can kind of make this look a little bit better. But for right now, this is what you got. Well, thanks for watching, and you guys have a pleasant morning, day, and good night.